Welcome back to the Dare to Dream podcast. My name is Vincent Van Patten.
And I am Gregory Russell Benedict.
This is a podcast to inspire you to embark on the adventure of your life. Lego. What's up, bud?
Not much, my friend. It is good to see you. My love for you is just as high as it was the day you left me to move to Japan.
Wow. Oh, well, that is great to hear. Can't say the same, but it's always nice to receive the flattery this early in the morning.
Yeah,
Buddy,
I've
today
seen you replacing me, and I'm not bitter. It's fine.
it's all right. 110 episodes in. Uh, we're just getting started. Our relationship is just flourishing, and we couldn't be more excited. So today we will be talking about something that this idea which came about. So I have many of my most emotional moments, most inspiring moments in the gym, working out. I cry quite often, and because as if you are a listener to this podcast, you've probably heard me talking about this back uh, conundrum that I've been grappling with for the past 6 years or so. And so there's this quote. I might be like Nietzsche or something, but Jordan Peterson says it. But in your pain, in your suffering is your purpose. And that can mean a lot of different things. It could be, your existential pain, just what you're thinking about. And it's not even, doesn't necessarily have to be like pain, like that's what I'm hurting from, but it's what you are digging into in your life experience. What is causing you to think differently, kind of go deeper than what we, you know, kind of what we the plane that we exist on a daily basis, go a little deeper into this whole experience. And for me, it actually has been pain because, this physical back pain, I like suffered a bulging disc. The story is it is positive. So if you're listening, this already sounds like a depressing episode. Bear with me, it gets good.
It has a
So
happy ending. Vinny's becoming a back model. His lats are unbelievable.
you heard of back abs? They are forming. It's a real thing. So yeah, I've been kind of dealing with this for a while now, and it's this kind of mysterious problem. And because I've tried a bunch of different uh physical therapists and just program stuff, never taken painkillers for it. That is not an option, and surgery is quite out of the question too. Like I know I could figure this out, and so I've tried a bunch of different stuff, homeopathic methods, what have you. And a good friend from our fraternity recommended that I check out this guy on Instagram. Um, this program is called Knees Over Toes, but it's this guy who, like, the greatest like difficulty with this is just not knowing which path to go down, like not knowing what to try, and then like trying something and it's just not working, and just the fog around it. But it's the first time I've seen somebody who's gone through exactly what I'm going through. Like he suffered bulging disc, like ruptured disc when he was in his early 20s. And for years, 2 years, he was wallowing in the mystery as well. So like he tried different things, and you go to physical therapists, they all kind of tell you the same stuff, like these sort of back band-aids of just things that, maybe mask the problem for a little bit, but they kind of just dance around the actual crux of the whole situation. And that is definitely what I have experienced. Like I've never found something that really is getting to the source of it and making it stronger instead of like these little things where I just can't imagine them actually fixing it, even though I'm hopeful. But so finally saw this guy, and it's like, you know, the exact like just my story. And it's crazy. So I like started doing these pretty much fundamental like workouts that he recommended. Man, it's literally his struggle is his purpose. Like his life is like lower back mobility, like his name on Instagram, and uh he's a beast. Like he's a world class like sprinter and athlete.
That's his name on Instagram, lower back mobility.
Yeah, just recently changed it too. It's like his name's like Brendan something. I don't know what his last name is, but
Got
and
it.
like like he's like I'm talking to him like in a dialogue, and he's just like keep me updated on everything, like how I could help. And so cool how that is something on social media now. You can like reach out to like I've had, many cases of people I've reached out to that are just like I'm a fan of, and like actually just talking to them. And so yeah, so, it's only been like still short of a month, but like I've never felt this way in the gym. Because it's like focusing on strengthening the weak points in my back and hips, a lot of like back and hips that is causing the pain instead of like kind of dancing around it, doing the workouts that I've always done. And I'm hopeful, like I'm definitely not out of the woods by any means, but I'm very hopeful that this is actually the solution. And so I had this inspiring thought. So I'm in the gym a lot. My eyes tear up because I'm like just the endorphins going, just kind of thinking about everything I've been through with this. And like, yeah, it's a lot of like my greatest, thoughts come to me in that moment of inspiration. And this idea that I think for both of us is really guiding our days is travel deep into this whole experience. It's like go really don't settle. Like I haven't ever settled of like dealing with daily back pain and saying like, oh, I'm not gonna work out, or I'm not gonna try to find a new next thing to try because being athletic is too important to me. Being healthy obviously is the number one thing. Like I can't imagine settling. So there are a lot of times, and you know this, that I've wanted to give up. I've like been deep in the mud and just like this sucks. And at those points too, you gotta sometimes laugh about, how absurd this life could be, but also allow yourself to feel that too, and not be like it's not every moment you're just gonna be like gun ho and swinging for the fences, even when you're feeling super low. You gotta let yourself kind of feel that too. And I've definitely taken stretches of like just doing nothing, and then also I've always gone back into it. So, and it's the back was the inspiration for this whole concept, but it really applies to everything in life. So travel deep, but stay light. That is the most important kind of piece of it. So go beneath the surface, really get into the core of why we're here, ask the big questions, with success, with struggle, with love, like really suck the marrow out of life, but stay light. Like don't let it drag you down completely. Never let the hurt and the shadow overcome like just living an enjoyable, happy life. That is not easy by any means. But sometimes you gotta just put your hands up and say, like, that's life. And no matter what happens, I will enjoy the moment, enjoy today, and just can keep going on.
Love that. And I'm so happy that this first month of doing these exercises seems like it could be a potential solution for the back. That is fantastic news. I love this idea of not settling. The only time I think I've ever settled in my life is finding a podcast partner. But other than that, absolutely nothing. And there's
Oh,
so
that's
much to
good.
what you're saying in going deep, but traveling deep, but staying light. It's so much of life and your well-being, I believe, is based on your perception and based on the frame, the lens through which you're seeing the world. There's a way to look at the world that's absolutely terrible and mundane and boring and monotonous. I mean, you're getting things in the mail all the time. Like you got to renew your registration and you got to sign up for this online class. And like there's just so much shit to deal with sometimes that it feels like life is the worst thing ever. But then if you flip it around and you look at what you have and what you're grateful for and all these amazing opportunities, those things that I just mentioned become minor inconveniences on this great ride, this great adventure. And I think your perception and your lens, the lens through which you are looking at the world, makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for saying that. And yeah, thanks for being there every step of the way as well. I probably
Yeah.
cried to you more than anybody. So I need you.
You just better not be replacing me with Mr. Lower Back. You're gonna
Oh,
DM straight
we
to
are
him.
way too far into that to go back now. You have officially been replaced.
Yep.
But you heard it here first. He's going to be on this podcast in the near future. I would, yeah. So yeah, this quote, I think it's Marcus Aurelius, like your life is dyed by the color of your thoughts. It really is. Like, we were talking about stuff before this, just some other things that I'm pondering and going through and thinking about. But the day is too good to give away. It's like every moment is too good to give away. There's too much riding on giving away your sovereignty of just enjoying this experience to let that little minor inconveniences take over and ruin that. It so easily can. Like the minutia of daily life is burdensome, to say the least. And not even the minutia, but life is life is hard. There's definitely a lot that could get to us, but you know, there's not got to be this perception of no matter what happens, like I won't let it take my joy, because if you have that mentality, nothing can get to you. And that is why we love stoicism so much, is because what I just finished Lives of the Stoics by Ryan Holiday. And people's perception of stoicism might be just like this cold stoic philosophy of like not enjoying life, like very, is it aesthetic? It's just like not,
Yeah.
being a neutered nun, as is that your next chapter for you? I think is that what you're
Neutered nun. I was the sober vegan eunuch. Next I'm gonna be the neutered nun. How'd you know? That's yeah, that's my new Twitter handle actually. Please don't steal it.
It's a good one, but it's well, it's staying joyful no matter what happens. Like it's crazy reading these books about like these ancient people who, no matter what happened, like somehow saw the world through like a colorful, positive lens. Freaking so one of the major Stoics, Epictetus, he's a slave, like straight up just a slave, and
Are
turned
you telling
Stoic.
me are you telling me that I've been saying Epictetus wrong my entire life?
But you would say a lot worse than that. I think it's yeah, Epictetus, I don't know. But he says
Potato potato.
potato potato. Uh see here. There's something quite good. TikTok. There we go. Oh wait. Oh well, this applies as well. So this is not Epictetus. This is Marcus Aurelius. He says, so during his reign as emperor, he it was never really good. Like he was the best Roman emperor because he was like the most fairest, the yeah, had this kind of, the people loved him. He wasn't deranged, which pretty much everyone else was. And the Antonine Plague like swept through Rome, just killing like millions of people. And he's like, it's unfortunate that this happened. Then he says, no, it is fortunate that this happened. It's fortunate that it happened to me, that I've remained unharmed by it. Not everyone would be so lucky. Flexibility is being able to look at adversity or difficulty and going, this is just what I was looking for. And Ryan Holiday says, to me, this sums up Stoicism completely. It's a sort of optimism that can't be broken. It's like, okay, bring it on. We are going to make the most of this. So I like that. It's more of an optimism instead of like a retreat from life. It's realizing that life is difficult and that things are going to happen out of your control. Staying optimistic. That's really it. It's optimism. It's like, staying light is staying optimistic that no matter what happens, things will get better.
And it's knowing that no matter what life throws at you, that you're going to be okay, that you have the capacity to endure whatever happens. I think that's where I take the greatest solace in stoicism.
Definitely. It's crazy too. Like, we're always thinking about the future. We're worried about what's gonna happen. My grandpa used to always say, well, at least my mom says, he says this, what we worry about most usually never happens. That is, I found to be quite true. I think most of us probably have. because we worry about everything, like the things that are just like bearing down on us. We look back at that and like, God, why was I wasting time worrying about that? And in those moments with life, sometimes we in the middle of the night we're worried about something and it just seems like the world is just crashing down on us. The next day, like I kind of felt like that way last night. Next day, sunny day, you realize, the world's not falling apart. You're gonna be okay. You regain that optimism and you keep going. And then when you face that thing, either it does happen and in the moment you find a way to get through it and it passes, or it doesn't happen. And you're like, man, I didn't need to worry.
You said something. I honestly think it was in Dare to Dream episode 2. You said something beautiful. It was you wake up the next day after worrying about something and you shed the weight of yesterday. And
Mm,
that's what's coming up for me now. And a couple things based on what you said. So I just finished this book called Not Fade Away. Not Fade Away. It's by a man named Peter Barton and Lawrence Shames. Peter Barton is the protagonist, and he died of stomach cancer at age 50. He had just retired from a multi-billion-dollar media company. He lived a huge, rambunctious life, but it's such a moving and heart-wrenching book. And what he talks about in it, there's this one passage that really struck me. And he's talking about how difficult it is to live in the present moment and how impractical it is in a lot of life. And yet now that he's here and he literally has no future, he knows he's going to be dying soon, that it's allowing him to live in the present for the first time in his life. And the way he articulated it was so fascinating because he was a businessman. And he said that business, by definition, is living in the future. You meet in the present moment briefly. You might put one foot in the present moment so you can create a strategy or business plan for the future. But everything in business and so much of life is future oriented. You're always trying to plan and strategize and figure out how to set yourself up for success. And in that, we don't take advantage of this magical present moment that we have, which is somewhat unavoidable. That's what he was speaking to, which I liked. It was a rational reasonableness of like, yeah,
right.
you kind of got to think about the future if you have kids and you want to provide for them, or if you have a job and you want to do better. But his experience of the present moment when there was no future for him was so powerful. And then I know we've said this on the podcast before, but if you really think about it, humans, we only have the capacity to exist in the present moment. Like we actually are never in the future. We're never in the
Mhm.
past. We only have the, what is the word I'm looking for? Like the capabilities, the senses to experience the present moment. And yet we're hardly ever here.
It's crazy. Yeah. We're either thinking about the past or, you know, worry. It's often worry about the future or just planning on the future, like feeling that that future moment is gonna bring the thing that we want right now. And Chris Williamson talks about a lot of, we think that we give up happiness in the present moment to potentially find happiness in the future. Like we think that the money will make us happy, that success will, that, any number of things. And like, okay, so I need to like suffer now because that thing is going to make me happy, or I need to do something I hate, or just pretty much living out of your current body and out of this experience, thinking that at that certain moment you will be happy. And then just always kind of, it's just like there's no continuity or, you know, congruence between where you are now and that. It's like you're always this gap and you're always just pushing further and the gap keeps pushing further. It's like one day I'll keep getting closer and closer, but it never really comes. Instead of saying, wait a second, that thing that I potentially will get in the future from, you know not being in this moment now, why not just bypass that and say maybe it's not the thing that I expect will make me happy, but finding what, just kind of realizing that this is all there is, and it's going to keep, this perpetual stream of mm, the moment that we're in. And until what I really liked that he said was, uh, like if we can't be happy where we are in whatever circumstance we're in, like the so like a big example is it Naval Almanac or Naval Ravikant says uh, in his almanac, if you can't be happy with a cup of coffee, you won't be happy on the yacht, which is like it is those small moments that like mean the most. But trust me, I feel like just as much as anybody that it is hard to fully appreciate them without like thinking about what you have to do in the future or just thinking that once you get to that next goalpost, you'll be satisfied and happy.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you're wondering, how the heck do I go about appreciating the present moment more, appreciating the small things? I recently did a 72-hour fast. So last week, starting Tuesday night after dinner to Friday night, I ate zero food, did a 3-day, 72-hour water only fast. And man, getting to eat again, getting to put food in my body. Like Saturday was probably the best day of my life because all I did was focus on how incredible food was. The fact that I can afford to eat this clean, organic, nutritious whole foods whenever I want. I can cook it and it's delicious. Like, I think I'm going to incorporate fasting into my lifestyle more often. One, because it's really healthy, but two, because it makes you appreciate life again. And the normality of making a meal during the day became this event and this super fun
Mm,
thing. And it was just so powerful. And that's a really easy way to give yourself a little mini reset and kind of restoke those gratitude capacities.
mm, nice. Restoke the gratitude capacities. That is great.
It's going to be the, the title of this episode.
It's pretty good. Uh, yeah, my dad has said, if you can appreciate the sun rising and falling, then you have it all. He said that in some capacity, but
Yeah.
I think I twisted off of it. And I mean, that is it. Like I have that on like my notes app. I just like at the top. That's it. That's what we are all seeking in some way is to appreciate that. And that, like it takes a lot of different forms and things. But yeah, I think one of the best ways to appreciate the moment you are in is to just try to feel it as much as you possibly can. Like if you're with somebody, truly listen to what they're saying, look at them deeply, and just like I don't know. Sometimes it takes losing the thing that we have to realize how good we had it. But it's the simple things like just enjoying that coffee to the fullest, enjoying just being there and taking that weight off of realizing that the things that seem so important probably mean nothing, and things that are kind of trivial really are everything.
Yeah. I think it's gratitude, appreciation. And then I really want to touch on this third one, acceptance. Acceptance has been coming up a lot for me in my life in a couple of different ways. So the first way that acceptance is coming up for me is I recently met with my friend Andrea, and she is a flow enthusiast. So flow is the psychological state you get into when it's peak consciousness. You're the most creative, your productivity and motivation go up 500%. Your creativity and innovation go up 430%. It's this state that extreme elite athletes get into when they're, landing the first triple backflip at the X Games, or they're surfing a 70-foot wave. And you don't have to be doing sports to get into it. It can happen with dancing, playing musical instruments, doing work, typing, writing. Like we've all felt it. It's when time slows down and doesn't seem to exist, and you're so fully absorbed in your task. That's called a flow state.
Mhm.
And I was meeting with her. She was giving me some flow tips on how to get into flow more. And there's 4 stages, 4 phases to getting into flow. And the first phase is called struggle. And acceptance is all part of this. You'll see how. But the struggle phase usually lasts around 10 to 20 minutes. And it's when you sit down to write, or you go to the gym and you start working out, and it's that part that sucks. It's hard. It's when you're on a run, the first half mile, everything hurts. The struggle
Turning on the
phase
engine.
is exactly, you're turning on the engine, you're warming up the car, you're getting into it. And that's step one. Step two is release. So you have to struggle for a little bit, and you have to accept the struggle. If you get frustrated with the struggle, if you start asking, why me? Why is this so hard? You're going to get out of it. So you struggle, and then you release. You take a quick break, 5-10 minutes. You do some breathing, you stretch, you go on a walk. You don't want to look at your phone or Instagram or TikTok during release. You want to just let your brain flow. It's kind of like you could go take a shower. So struggle, release. And then if you come back to the thing you're doing after that, after you've adequately released, you will come into a flow state. And you're in this flow state. It's amazing. And then the fourth stage is recovery. Being in flow state is this beautiful neurochemical cocktail of epinephrine, serotonin, all of these, like peak dopamine, all of these peak mood neurotransmitters. So after being in flow, you want to adequately rest and sleep and, go play. Don't work all day. But the whole reason I'm sharing all of this is because one of the key indicators of getting into flow is positive thoughts and acceptance. You're not going to get into flow if you're not accepting what is. If you're constantly sitting there wishing things were a different way, wishing it was easier, wishing it was X or Y. And this idea of acceptance has really been resonating with me recently, because whether you like it or not, you can't change reality. But you can change how you feel about reality. You can accept it. And if you accept things for what they are, it gives you all of this optionality to then decide what you want to do about it. If you accept your back is the way it is, then you can decide, do I want to take pain medication? Do I not want to take pain medication? Do I want to go to the gym? Do I want to try these exercises? But if you're stuck in this non-acceptance, you can't move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's accepting what is, and from that, then the world opens up to you and you can make a decision.
Love it. Love it. I mean, yeah, definitely. I feel like the moments of flow state for me when it's like writing and going to the gym, and that
Talking
feeling
to
of
me.
like talking to you, we are just in the flow. Yes, doing this. It is like, getting over the initial hurdles of, why am I doing this? What is it all? I feel like it's a state, like specific state, like you're sitting down to write, to do it, you're going to the gym, doing whatever you're doing, like creating something, working on just having a conversation too. It's getting into a flow in the conversation. You kind of have that foot on the pedal, take it off. And then once you're settled into the experience, you're like in this different realm of reality where things are just kind of working and you're not thinking so much. It's kind of when you stop thinking and your instincts take over a little bit more, right? And things just feel good. And yeah, I think it kind of still applies too to traveling deep, but also staying light. Like it's accepting what is, or it's like seeing what is and maybe questioning why things are the way they are, but also the acceptance is the staying light. It's okay, this is how things are. Like there's nothing I could do to change reality. I could change how I think about them, and that will maybe give me a path to change myself or the circumstances, but can't change other people and what they think. um, can't change you know the weather rising in the morning, and that could serve for anything. Just like there's so much that we can't control in this experience, but acceptance of what is the only way, I think, to stay sane and light, not let it weigh you down. Yeah, acceptance is huge.
Yeah. And I think something I struggled with for the longest time was that I thought acceptance meant giving up. But acceptance is simply acknowledging reality and acknowledging that things are the way they are. And then you have leeway and levity and the chance to create a game plan. And I
Mhm.
love what you said about acceptance being the way to travel deep while staying light. It reminds me of that Taoist monk. I want to say his name is like Ikkyu Sojin or something.
Oh yeah.
And he had this quote along the lines of, throw me into hell and I'd find a way to have a good time. Something along the lines of that. He was like the most accomplished Taoist monk. He made it through all of the rituals and the trials and the tribulations. And during the ceremony where he's being presented with the most sacred document, he like pulls a prank on the
Jokester.
practitioners. Yeah, he's just a jokester.
He's a
And
jokester.
the other place acceptance has been coming up for me is I've been in this long debate with one of my really good friends about the question, is life suffering? Right? From Nietzsche to Buddha, you have this belief that life is suffering. And that hasn't sat well with me because for the longest time, I've been thinking if you believe life is suffering, it will be suffering. Your
Mhm.
thoughts create your reality, and how you think about the world is what's going to end up happening. But what I've realized recently is that you can accept that life is suffering, that life is full of suffering because it is. You're going to,
Mhm.
we talked about this earlier. Everyone you love and have ever cared about is going to die, including yourself. Like that's pretty heavy. That's really easy to get weighed down with. But in that acceptance, you can also bring levity and keep it light and make jokes. And it's that acceptance, playfulness, dance
Mhm.
that I think is really important.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a harmonious relationship. I think it has to be because, yeah, it is. This is something that, yeah, we've grappled with, like many things, of of just. I mean, yeah, life is like gonna it's gonna bring you down in many ways, and just is it naive? Is it naivety to think that life is just hopeful and it can be optimistic? And this is something that Chris Williamson said that I really liked. It's like if people, you know, we kind of see it in this certain sense of like, oh, we're just two young guys. We haven't. I'm not going to drag you into this. This is something that I think about often. It's like being a writer and trying to express this human experience. It's like I haven't, my parents haven't died. I haven't dealt with a best friend and getting really sick. Like, I haven't just had like a crazy life experience which has my back that has really rocked me to my absolute core. So like part of me is like, oh, I haven't, seen true suffering, which is obviously subjective, but um still to be able to like part of me fears that like, oh, who are you to say that we could just be able to travel like, stay light amongst this whole experience when like you haven't dealt with such things. But I don't think it I don't think it's naive. Like I know that what we are doing is even it's like a stoic thing is to prepare yourself for when things do get tough too, because even if they haven't happened, things will happen eventually. And I think the strongest people maintain that lightness even amongst that. And that doesn't mean you're faking it and like you're wearing a mask and saying, oh, like everything is good, even my friends in the hospital or whatever. But it's like, and this is the whole concept of traveling deep. It's like really feeling that, crying when you need to, getting into the experience of life and asking the big questions, but also never losing that inner joy and saying that no matter what, I will still retain that optimism, that hope. And what Chris Williamson says is like, obviously we're at a crazy age of human history where it seems like if you do pay attention to the news and there's crazy stuff happening in the world, like earthquake and, you know, Turkey and just like, it's like fucking crazy stuff that's happening. But also, and just social media, being online, and like there seems like there's so much division and everything, but also it's easy to be uh not skeptical. It's easy to be just kind of a doomsday about that, like, oh, the world's going to shit. But he says what I really like is, even if it is, I don't want to be around the people who are putting their hands up and kind of saying, oh, it's going to shit. There's nothing we could do. I think more often than not, it is I mean, it's definitely like it's not all bad by any means. It is, the world is like in a beautiful place in many aspects that we've never been in before. It's changing in a lot of amazing ways. You know, kids, I think, are very, those damn kids, very hopeful. Like they're the smartest, like, uh, even there's the whole TikTok generation and everything. Like that's just the negative side of it that you see. Like there is a lot to be very hopeful for, of like creating change in this world and kind of starting a new paradigm. And it's the people who are challenging what success means and what happiness has to be, um, and being hopeful that there is possibility to create change in ourselves and in society, that are going to actually make it. It's not the ones that are going to put their hands up and say this is all shit and like let's make it worse. It's one saying that no, it's, we are sovereign human beings, and no matter what happens, like we together will make it through. And you know, I don't want to be around people who are bringing it down. I want to be associated with people who are striving to make a better place.
Amen to
Even
that.
yeah, yeah, even like pretty much like a metaphorical truth. Like even if it were going down, to believe that it can get better and that it will get better, that will give you a happier life. So why not believe it and strive for it?
100%. I think being able to push back against the hardship of life and dance in those dark moments is what makes it such a beautiful life. And
Mhm.
I think that what we're doing now, we are practicing the optimism and the hope amidst our own challenges. That's the only way we could go about preparing for those inevitable hardship moments that will come. We are
Mhm.
doing the stoic reps of practicing what we preach and getting ready.
For sure. And can't do without each other. Like if you got people in your life to share that with, it is so important. So, and I mean that just means appreciating the small moments, like with the people you care about. Yes.
Appreciating those small moments and working on your back abs.
Working on the back abs, baby. That's all we got. That's all we got. Well, bud, anything else? I mean, that's pretty much. You got anything else?
I think that's going to do it for me.
Plane landed.
Plane landed. It is taxiing into the gate.
Mm, beautiful. Well, we love you all. Thank you for listening. This was a meaningful episode. So can't tell you how much we appreciate it. We are hopeful, we're optimistic, and we're excited.
And we'll see you next time. Love you
See
guys.
you next time.